Welcome into the SBR Betting Roundtable, coming to you every Wednesday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, alongside Donnie Rightside, Ian Cameron, Jeff Nadeau. I am Drew Martin. We're going to be hitting on some NFL, some college basketball, some college football, also throwing a couple Canadian sports there for a minute or two with Ian Cameron. But guys, let's go right around the horn. Introduce yourselves. What's on your mind sports betting-wise? Donnie Rightside, welcome in. Find him on Twitter at Rightside VP. Donnie, welcome to the show.
Hey, yeah, good. Hey, interesting week here. You had some good college basketball matchups last night. Action in full effect. NFL schedule, heading down the backstretch here. A lot of good times, a lot of money to be made here. So happy to be on the roundtable. One of my favorite shows of the week, Drew.
Yeah, we're happy to have you, man. And Ian Cameron, find him on Twitter at Babano. His work at sportsmemo.com. Ian, welcome in, buddy.
Yeah, what isn't there to do? What isn't there to bet at this time of year? If you can't find something, it's time to do something else with your life and your time, because it's crazy not to think of something to bet at this time of year. It's the month of November. Everything's coming at you full force. Gotta love it.
Yeah, and a guy that knows that with the best of them, going head deep into college basketball, knows it as good as anybody. Find him on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau. Big man on campus. Welcome in, buddy.
Hey, good to be with you, Drew. Glad to be on the roundtable. Always a fun show. Excited about this.
Yeah, excited to work in some college basketball and get your opinion. I know you know it as good as anybody. Off to a good start in college hoops. But guys, let's get into the NFL. We're all involved in it a little bit. You can't not be the king of sports betting in some way, as far as sports betting goes in sports. But Donnie Rightside, what about a bet on team you're looking at in the NFL? Do you have one for us?
Yeah, bet on team. I mean, keep it pretty simple here. You've watched them, get better and better as the season goes on. We're a little bit shaky to start the season. That would be the New England Patriots. Each week you're watching them now getting better and better on the defensive side of the football. They absolutely blew out the Denver Broncos, same way the Philadelphia Eagles did. Going down to Mexico this week to play a little bit shaky Raiders defense in this, but it's one of those teams, Drew, right now with the New England Patriots and Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and Matt Patricia getting it all cooking at one time. I don't want to step in front of that train. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win big again against the Raiders. I think it's a 4:00 game there down in Mexico, so not a primetime game, but watch out for the Patriots right now. They are a bet on team.
And you bring up Mexico City. What is that, Azteca Stadium or something like that? It's one of the good ones in this hemisphere. Do you factor in the elevation at all there in Mexico City into that handicap?
No, because, neither one of them are used to. You always say you factored in if you play in Denver, because Denver's used to that elevation, practice in it, live in it. Their bodies are already acclimated there. Both the Raiders and the Patriots don't really have any. I mean, I know the the Broncos just played out in Denver. The Patriots just played the Broncos out in Denver, stayed for an extra week in Colorado Springs to try to get acclimated and training in that high altitude heading down to Mexico. But both these teams in a neutral site environment there. I don't think either one is going to have an edge on either one of these.
Damn, that sounds actually like it could be an edge. That's a good handicap there. They stayed extra to get used to the elevation, huh?
That's Belichick, yeah. That's what Belichick does. I mean, he uses everything to his advantage.
Yeah, big man, you got something on that?
Yeah. Actually, this is an interesting point that Donnie raises. In soccer, this is one of the toughest stadiums to play in the world due to the extremely high elevation. I mean, Colorado Springs is about 6,000 feet high, which is very high. I mean, Mexico City's up over at almost 7,400 feet. I mean, it's a grueling place to play. I mean, and I think that's why the Patriots are such an amazing organization. I mean, they think ahead with things like this. I mean, if this was, would Ben McAdoo do something like this, or one of those kind of guys? I mean, this is tremendous preparation. And I mean, what do you expect? But it'll be interesting because this is a grueling place to play. I mean, even the best athletes in the world, people like, soccer players are very conditioned. And this by many is rated one of the toughest, just with the overall construction of the stadium, the way it is, the noise, it's very loud. I'm not sure if that'll be a big problem here, but the overall elevation is particularly grueling. So yeah, I think that's
Jeff, how about when you throw in there down as Azteca with the bad actual, like the smog and the awful air conditions that they have as well, and you're at high elevation. Good point.
That's a good point. It's an extremely densely populated city as well. I mean, that's talked about constantly. I mean, almost 9 million people live in Mexico City. I mean, it's very populated. There's a ton of pollution, that kind of stuff. Yeah, this is tough. I mean, this is gonna be a tough place to play for both these teams.
I think we lost Drew.
Looks
here.
like we lost
Drew is gone.
Down there. Yeah, hey,
I'm going to go right into mine.
Get rid of him. Get rid of him.
That's all right. I'm going to.
Yep. Now we can play out.
My
here.
bet on team. It's a little crazy.
Yeah.
It's a little bonkers. But I'm going with the Indianapolis Colts because as bad a team as the Indianapolis Colts are, I'm seeing something that I'm not seeing. I'm seeing something from them that I am not seeing from the Texans, from the Giants, from some of these horrible football teams. I'm seeing effort. I'm seeing compete. I'm seeing a try from the Indianapolis Colts on a weekly basis. We saw it against Pittsburgh. We saw it against Houston. We saw it against Cincinnati, even though they lost that Bengals game late because of a fumble return touchdown. This team is competing. And for these losing teams like the Indianapolis Colts that are not going to attract betting market attention, they're not going to attract the odds makers respect one bit because they're losing, but they're competing. They're catching big numbers. They're staying inside these big numbers. We're seeing that now from the Indianapolis Colts. We're seeing Jacoby Brissett progress instead of regress at the quarterback spot. Marlon Mack has helped, giving them another weapon on the offensive side of the ball. And the defense is still not very good, but I'm seeing a try out of them. I'm seeing compete out of them. They're playing at least a little bit better than they were earlier on in the season. Indianapolis, one of those teams, not going anywhere. Chuck Pagano's still a horrible coach. We understand that. I'm not going to make him out to be the second coming of Vince Lombardi, Chuck Noll, or Bill Walsh. I'm not in the business of doing that. But the Indianapolis Colts are trying. And as long as the effort is still there with this football team in the remaining weeks of the season, the point spread value may be there to back them.
There you go, Ian. Why don't we just keep it on the same thing? We'll go back around the horn on a fade on team in the NFL. Ian, why don't we start with you? Head it right back around the corner. What are we looking at here?
Fade team, I've got to stick with, even though they won their first game last week against the New York Giants, rather, the San Francisco 49ers still a fade team for me until they get Jimmy Garoppolo, if Jimmy Garoppolo sees the field, because I do think there'll be an uptick with him at the quarterback spot. Although, again, you got to be cautious with that. Yeah, he's better than C.J. Beathard or Hoyer before that. I understand that, but limited skill position weapons. This is not a influx of wide receiving depth and talent or a great offensive line by any stretch of the imagination. But I think they just took advantage of a moribund, pathetic, dysfunctional, completely chaotic New York Giant football team last week in that victory against the Giants. Now you might actually see more point spread value to go against the 49ers because maybe they get a bump in their power rating for the Giants. I don't bump anybody for beating the New York Giants right now in their power rating, not even maybe. So San Francisco, just because they won last week, I'm not convinced now this being a big time a turn in the other direction for the 49ers in the weeks to come.
Looks like Drew popped in and I guess popped back out there. So I'll go keep it right around the corner. Right around the horn there. Fade on team for me, gentlemen, is going to be the Buffalo Bills. And the news that comes out today is exactly why they're going to be a fade on team, because coming into the football season, what did we all think? They're making a lot of moves. They're making trades. They're, I'm trying to get my guys in here as the new head coach and the new regime takes over. They actually had a pretty good start to the season. You figured they would say, you know what? We're going to get Kelvin Benjamin in here. Let's make a playoff push. Boy, did that go in reverse really quickly at this point. Now you're seeing Tyrod Taylor is going to be benched for Nathan Peterman, almost in one of those cases, guys, where you say, you know what? I just want to see what I have here. I don't think we're going anywhere. I never picked this year to be my year as, the head coach and the new regime coming into town. I just want to evaluate and see what I have before I have to move forward. That's one of those things and signals to me that you show the locker room now says, wait a second, say what you want against Tyrod Taylor. Not the biggest fan of the guy, but he is a starting quarterback in the NFL, and you're still in the thick of the playoff race. Now you're raising up that white flag to see what you have in a rookie quarterback that doesn't bowl well, and that signals all bad moves there for the locker room itself. Fade on team for me heading down the stretch now, the Buffalo Bills.
You know what that tells me to this move, and I'm shocked by this move that Nathan Peterman's going to be the quarterback here for the Buffalo Bills. It tells me that this Tyrod Taylor from day one, if you could have asked Sean McDermott, will Tyrod Taylor be my quarterback long-term with this organization? He would tell you no right then and there. That's what this tells me loud and clear. Sean McDermott does not want Tyrod Taylor as his long-term quarterback of this football team. So I think that bridge now has been burned when you make this kind of decision, when you're a 5-4 football team, still right in the thick of the race in the AFC in terms of the playoff picture, to make this move. That clearly tells you, your team, your fan base, and everybody around that Tyrod Taylor is not your guy. And I'm just not sure this is a move that is going to sit well with everyone. I mean, Tyrod Taylor's not a perfect quarterback. No way, of course not. He's got accuracy problems at times. Sometimes the throws he should make, he's not capable of making them at times, but he's still athletic. He's still fleet of foot. And as far as I'm concerned, Tyrod Taylor wasn't your issue against New Orleans. It was a run defense that, since Marcel Darius got traded away, wouldn't be able to stop me running the football right down their throat as far as I'm concerned right now, this Bills team. So that's their biggest problem. Where was the run defense when it was just handoff up the middle to Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram last week for the Saints that just absolutely carved you up like a Thanksgiving turkey, which is just around the corner for my friends in the United States, by the way. So that's the issue. Tyrod Taylor's not the issue in terms of that. That was your run defense. I think there's bigger problems with the Buffalo Bills coming from that Saints team, coming from that Saints game rather than blaming the quarterback. Very, very kind of panic, odd, peculiar move right here to make this quarterback change at this stage of the season.
Boys, I don't mean to butt in. Did we hit on all the bet on fade teams?
Yeah, it looks like that's what we were just going back around the horn there. Big man, you have one that you want to do on a fade team in the NFL, or no, you good on that?
I was just kind of listening to you guys. I think you guys are totally right. I think this is a moronic, odd move by the Bills. We've seen some odd moves in the NFL. I mean, I guess personnel outweighs, winning. I mean, I guess if you have good players and, that's kind of gets thrown to the wind if someone doesn't like someone, it's kind of interesting. I mean, you had a Panthers team who, look, they haven't really – since Calvin Benjamin left, but now that Curtis Samuel's out, it kind of might backfire. At the end of the day, Calvin Benjamin's a good receiver, and we saw drops were a problem for them the other night, and that was an odd move. This is another odd move. I've been on record as saying I think Tyrod Taylor is a pretty decent quarterback. I don't understand what you think you're going to get better than him. Nathan Peterman, I mean, it was arguable that he was very good in college. I mean, he left Tennessee, couldn't hack it there. He went to Pittsburgh, had a decent career, but he also had Tyler Boyd and James Conner to make him look a little bit better at Pittsburgh. This is an odd move. I think Sean McDermott's out coaching a little bit here. You're 5-4, like Ian said. You have a real winnable game coming up here at a very winnable place. I mean, LA is not a tough place to go play or anything. I don't really quite understand this. And if I'm a Bills fan, which I know we know a couple, I would be absolutely annoyed and pissed off at this move.
No, it's weird. I mean, I know it is the LA Chargers, and it is on the road, albeit a diminished home field advantage, obviously, for LA in that stadium. They don't have much, but still, it's away from home. It's just all of a sudden now Nathan Peterman's going to have to get practice reps quickly. You're going to have a long flight. Remember, it's not going to be as much practice time for the Bills this week either. You got to have that long flight out to LA. So shorter amount of practice to get Peterman ready. And you're still facing a good pass rush. Last I checked, Joey Bosa pretty good at getting to the quarterback here for the Chargers. It's just the timing of it is also very, very strange in terms of this move.
Right. And why wouldn't you even wait? Like, you're making the move to Peterman. You forget, Phillip Rivers in concussion protocol. He sits this game out. You roll with Tyrod Taylor. You have a legitimate shot as probably even maybe being the favorite on the road to beat this team.
But I'm
instead,
not quite
throw it up in flames and start a rookie. It doesn't make any sense.
And that's a good point. Like, I don't get why you do this now. I mean, you're 5-4. Look, if you're 5-10, by the 14 to 15 game, okay, I understand that. I mean, you're not going to win anything, but there's been many teams in the midst of playoff runs. The Miami Dolphins are a perfect example. When they traded Jay Ajayi away, they were in the playoff hunt. I mean, the truth of the matter, you could say what you want about Cutler or Gase or whatever. They were in the playoff hunt. There's just been very odd moves by these NFL teams. And I think a lot of it has to do with, I think the players a lot of the time are basically sabotaging, not necessarily the coach. The coach just doesn't have much leeway here. I think you're kind of being forced by the players in a way. We've seen this in sports. Superstars taking over teams and coaches just stepping out of the way and letting them decide what's going to happen. Cam Newton runs that team. I don't think Ron Rivera runs it. Cam Newton runs it.
No, that's a good point, big man. And you can make the argument, in college football, it's more about the coach. In the NFL, it's more about your stars. Would you disagree with that?
No, I think that's in a lot of sports, Drew. I mean, the NBA is a prime example. Eric Spoelstra didn't manage or coach anyone. Joe Girardi doesn't coach anyone. Superstars that make money do what they want. And LeBron James runs the Cleveland Cavaliers. LeBron James runs the NBA, quite frankly. I mean, what he says goes a lot of the time. When he says something, the commissioner listens. And you look at the Carolina Panthers, I guess he didn't quite like what they were doing. Maybe Cam Newton did. I've heard he liked Calvin Benjamin. I've heard he didn't like it. We don't know, but there's a curious thing of why you're getting rid of these players at these times. It doesn't make any sense. And it surely doesn't make sense to sit Tyrod Taylor down. Why? Because Nate Peterman in 10 attempts was 7 for 10 in garbage time against the Saints. So he's all of a sudden ready to lead this team on the road. There's no way. I don't care if he's your quarterback or he's not going to be your quarterback. This is not the time to do it. And for those fans that pay countless dollars to watch this team play, you owe to them to put the best players on the field to win football game. This is a ridiculous, moronic, idiotic decision.
It's hard to defend. And regarding Girardi, by the way, you're right. He didn't make decisions. The dopey little black book he had, the baseball Bible he had, made the decisions, and that told him what to do. But thankfully, Yankees fans don't have to see that anymore.
Good point.
Hey, let's give a shout out to the chat box. We got D, Tomar, Austin, all you guys. Thanks for chiming in, asking about Maction. We'll get to it in college football in just a little bit. We got some more NFL to talk about. If you like the content, please give us a thumbs up, the like button. It helps us out a lot. Talking the Sunday night game in the NFL. We got Philadelphia at Dallas. Looks like Philadelphia hanging -3 at 5 dimes, 3 and a hook. A lot of other places on the SBR odds screen right now. 48 the total. At Barbano, you got an opinion on this game for Sunday night?
It's a sit back and watch and enjoy game for me. Won't be involved. I could only take Philadelphia. I don't like the issues with Dallas right now. At the same point in time, I do not like backing teams, especially laying points on the road off a bye when they were rolling into the bye week. The bye week can be a momentum killer for teams in this kind of spot. That is my one reservation with the Eagles here in this spot, but it's my only reservation. It's the only way I could play it is the Eagles laying the points on the road, but I do have concerns about that spot. I've seen this too many times. And in fact, wasn't it the Eagles last year that got off to that hot start, had the bye week, and then things started to crumble a little bit after that? And it was Doug Peterson. Again, it was his first year when that happened. So that's a concern for me, but I don't want any part of Dallas, not with the issues, not with Sean Lee's injury, Tyrone Smith out. I mean, you got issues all over for this Dallas Cowboys team, a Dallas team that you could see without Elliott, of course, with serving that suspension finally after all this time, not able to get any sort of consistent ground game going against the Atlanta Falcons on the road last week. We saw Dak Prescott look a little bit human without Zeke Elliott by his side on that Cowboy offense. So I lean at Philly. It's the only way I'm betting it, but momentum being killed potentially for Philly off that bye week is a legit concern I have.
And at Babana, let me ask you a follow-up question. Looking at the SBR odds right now, it looks like -3.5 pretty much everywhere. -3, -125 at 5 dimes. You would lay the extra 25 at 5 dimes, correct, on your Philadelphia Eagles lean?
I would if I was betting it, but I'm not.
Okay.
So there you go. Yeah.
Fair enough, man. Donnie, any follow-up to what Ian said?
Yeah, we got a couple points on this game. If you're looking at the hook and I don't think the hook's even going to play in this game. Do I think it's going to be an easy rollover win for the Philadelphia Eagles? No, it's an NFC division game. It's hard to win division games on the road. We've all seen it there. Dak Prescott's a good quarterback. A little bit undermanned now that you take his best weapon away, but they're still going to put up a fight. They're not going to roll over. And you're right, coming off. Now, keep in mind, everybody out there, this is my PSA of the week. Some people will actually go back to 1999 when Andy Reid took over the Philadelphia Eagles and how good they are off of the bye week and throw that in there and say, have you seen the Eagles off the bye week, their record since 1999? Doesn't mean a goddamn thing in this football game, so throw that right out the window. Ian's right. We'll see how they come off the bye week. I think overall the better football team, and the bye actually came at a good time, I think, Ian, for the Philadelphia Eagles. You just acquired Jay Ajayi, who's now going to be your lead dog down the stretch. You got him a little bit ingratiated in the offense last week, scored a touchdown. Everybody's feeling good about it. You have the extra bye week. Now he comes out as your bona fide starter, ready to rock and roll, with everything picks up, blitz pickup, passing packages. He's going to be in there and be your back 65 to 70% of the time. Also, you're getting Ron Darby back. Why is that so important to a secondary that's been playing really well as of late? Now you have that super speed burner to match up with Dez Bryant, put him in the slot, mix him up with Terrence Williams. It's another key cog into that equation, and rest is always a key ingredient in the NFL when you're looking at games. I think the line is about right, 3.5. I don't think it's going to matter, so whether or not you buy the hook or have a -130 at 3, I don't think that's going to come into play. I have the Eagles by at least a touchdown in this football game, but again, folks, I caution you again. Don't look at the Eagles' bye week numbers under Andy Reid. It has nothing to do with this football game. Overall, to me, Eagles are a better football team that should win this game by a touchdown.
Yeah, I look at the Doug Peterson numbers. It's 0-1 off the bye, so he's got to get off the schneid here this week if the Eagles are going to get that win off the bye.
Big man, get in here. What do you think, man?
Yeah, but technically in that Lions game, there was a terrible fumble at the end of the game, a game they had control of most of the game. I hear you on Ian's point. They weren't good last year off the bye, but you look at 2015, off a bye, they go down to Dallas and get the job done, 33-27. So, listen, this team's different than those teams. This team is much better. This team is much more prepared. We also had to remember that the Chip Kelly absolute mess. So, yeah, the whole stat thing about off the bye, this is a different football team, if you ask me. And I think Donnie made really good points about, and I was actually going to mention that 10-year thing, mentioning that people will look at that and actually put that into why the Eagles may or may not cover this game. But, you look at delusional Jerry Jones in this game, mentioning that he thinks that, even if Tyron Smith doesn't play, they're going to be better than if he was in there, which is an absolutely ridiculous point. I don't know what his point there. I guess he's trying to motivate Chaz Green to play better. But, we can all talk about Ezekiel Elliott going out, which is huge. But, I think the bigger issues are Tyron Smith not playing and Sean Lee not playing. But if you're a Cowboys fan, this is what happens. Sean Lee never plays. Sean Lee's missed a game, I think, in every year in his since he's came into this league. Also, we have to look at the fact that Dan Bailey's not in the game either. This is big. There's a lot of things here. I believe they missed a field goal last week, if I'm correct, the Cowboys.
Off the upright. Yep.
These little things that they don't have that they normally are so – you look at these three players and you say, well, if they're in there, good things will happen, and you're totally right. These are three elite football players, especially Bailey. He never misses kicks. It's just the Eagles continue to really just come up in good spots. I would comfortably lay 6 points in this game. I think the Eagles will be refreshed. The culture in this locker room is different. Obviously, Donnie and I living where we do. Literally 20 hours of my day is Eagles talk. It's all we hear. And again, I don't think anyone's too high around here. People are just taking it game by game, and this is a huge thing. And they're getting Dallas at a great time here. I think the Eagles win 31-17.
All right, good stuff, big man. Hey, you guys want to throw out anything NFL-wise before we move on?
I'm good.
No, I think it's pretty much. There's some good, battle-tested games are going to come down the stretch. And Jeff is right there. Nobody's really too high on the Eagles, but we know we have a really good football team here. They should be able to beat Dallas. They're favored to beat Dallas. I expect them to. The Eagles are going to get tested when they have that 2-game swing on the road trip there, where they're going to take on the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. You'll see what they're made of. The Eagles can get that split 1-1 out there on the West Coast. They're headed for a home playoff bye, and they should be able to wrap up most of that by week 15, week 16, week 17 after that takes place. But their, big games are coming, and we'll see how really good they are when they head on the road.
One point I'm going to make about the Minnesota Vikings, they've got a little conundrum coming up, a situation where they're going to end up deciding, do we have to give Teddy Bridgewater the reins at quarterback, or are we going to stick with Case Keenum? And let's give Case Keenum credit. He's done a good job, managed the offense, and actually made some nice throws last week in the game against Washington. We'll give him all the credit for that. But if it comes playoff time, and here's the Minnesota Vikings with Case Keenum as their quarterback, can I look myself in the mirror and say we can maybe win an NFC title or a Super Bowl with Case Keenum as the quarterback? Am I really going to have to try to say that, make a case for that? No pun intended. I don't know. But I will say this. In the playoffs, defenses fine-tune their game plans even more. You get tighter execution, scheming, especially towards shutting down opposing quarterbacks in the postseason than you do in the regular season. As Case Keenum, for the Minnesota Vikings in big spots like that in January, if he's still the quarterback of this football team, capable of making those big plays against some of the best defenses he'll have seen all season long. That's still a legitimate question mark I've got for the Vikings. For an otherwise team that's playing very good and is very obviously well coached with Mike Zimmer, his ATS record speaks for that.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.